Hey there, welcome to Main Street Living. I'm Cheryl Nelson.
Hey, I'm Quincy Carr.
And I'm Danielle Alvari.
Guys, it's hard to believe that it is the week of Thanksgiving. I don't know if this year is going by fast or slow.
It's a combination of both, I'll be completely honest, because it feels like we can't get out of this year,
Yes.
but then when you look up, it's already November.
That's exactly how I feel. I know. Danielle, I think you're kind of shaking your head, though. You don't agree?
No, I do. I completely agree. I can't tell if I feel like I'm way ahead of where I thought I'd be right now, or are we still in 2020? What's going on?
Yeah.
I know. I feel like we just want 2020 to be over with, but at the same time, is 2021 going to be any better? We hope so. But the good news is, guys, it's the week of Thanksgiving, and
Right.
I'm curious, what are you guys doing? Are you seeing anybody? What are your plans?
Hold up, is this a speed dating round? Like, what type of question was that? Are we seeing anybody?
Yeah, and how many kids do you want, Quincy?
Well, I thought you were married, Q, but
I mean, I didn't know. Did the word get out that I was seeing somebody else? No, I'm joking. Stop it.
I know.
But yeah, I mean, I'll be with family. We got our little bubble. My wife's mom, and I even think my mom in Texas, and my brother's in LA, and my sister's in Texas. So we're all going to do a Zoom virtual deal. But my wife's mom lives here, so.
You got to wonder about Zoom. We're going to do that too, but I think everybody is going to be on Zoom on Thanksgiving.
Gonna crash.
Oh yeah, to see what happens. Danielle, what about you? What are your plans?
I'm gonna quarantine and chill. So that's I'll be at home. I'll be by myself because I'm working. You know, I'm not working on Thanksgiving, but I'm working the next day, and so it doesn't really make sense for me to do the fly home thing, and so it's just safer for everybody, I think, to stay where they are. So that's what we're doing. It's kind of sad, but we'll see how things progress in the next couple of weeks.
No, it makes sense though. We're doing the same thing. We're just hunkering down, staying home. And what do you guys eat for Thanksgiving? What's your favorite? I mean, Danielle, I know you're going to be alone this year, so are you going to make a favorite dish?
Yeah, well, so we were kind of talking about this, Cheryl, because I try to eat pretty plant-based, and you're actually very, very much vegan.
Yeah.
So I try very much when I'm in my home to definitely eat vegan, because when I go out, I want to get fast food and things like that. But for the holidays, like, I actually really don't like any Thanksgiving food. I feel like I'm like Chandler on Friends. So I might be making myself some mac and cheese. We'll see.
Mac and cheese. My favorite's the cranberry sauce. Q, what's your favorite?
Just the typical turkey, good stuff, and all the stuff that comes with it. I don't really gorge out. I just put, like, if there's like 20 items, I just take each item.
Yeah, a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So you're traditional, Quincy, and that's totally cool. My hubby's the same way, guys. And, we've got a great show coming up for you today. Hopefully we can put you in the holiday spirit.
Cheryl, we're going to ask you what you're eating later on too, though. But first, we do have a great show. So coming up, we are going to get to talk to our friends at the Arizona Science Center.
That's right. And later, we're talking to Tom Gregory about season 2 of Driven.
Oh, if you like fast cars, something to look out for. But first, though, as the holidays approach, it might be the time to give back. In fact, it's more important now than ever because some people are not able to put a meal on their table. Learn more about that next.
Welcome back to Main Street Living. Ladies, one thing I know that does not discriminate this time of year, regardless of race or even a pandemic, is certainly hard times, and it can hit anyone at any time.
Yeah, I know, Quincy. And the face of hunger in America is changing. And due to the pandemic, many now find it tougher to make ends meet. But thankfully, many communities are stepping up. And joining us now from Feeding San Diego is the Director of Programs, Dana Henderson. Welcome to Main Street Living. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about Feeding San Diego and what you guys are doing during these hard times.
Sure. So Feeding San Diego is on a mission to connect every person facing hunger to nutritious meals by maximizing food rescue. We are a local food rescue organization. We have in the past year distributed over 31 million meals to the community through 320 partners such as local charities, schools, faith communities, meal sites, and food pantries. And we do this through our 5 different initiatives, and those focus on different populations that we serve throughout the county. So our initiatives include our Feeding Kids initiative, Feeding Kids and Families, Feeding Seniors initiative, focusing on older adults, Feeding Families, focused primarily on our rural communities in San Diego, and then our other partners throughout the county. Feeding Heroes, which focuses primarily on feeding active duty military and veterans, and then our Feeding Excellence initiative, which is around advocacy, public policy work. So, we really aren't a traditional food bank in a sense, because our primary focus is on food rescue. And that really helps get high quality food that would otherwise go to the landfill to people in need, while also reducing the impact of food waste on our environment.
Which is so important. And I can't imagine that things have been made any easier by COVID-19. So how has that kind of impacted your organization?
Yeah, definitely. So we've actually seen a 50% increase in demand since the beginning of COVID, which is significant. And as a response, we launched emergency food distributions throughout the county of San Diego, while also working to expand distributions that we already had going in specific regions. So that could include sending additional food or additional resources to continue to really help those in need. And we really had to pivot the way that we were doing our distributions in order to keep people safe, right? So we had to shift our model to a low or no contact style. So most of our distributions are actually drive-through. So folks can come and get food, they put their trunk, volunteers come place the food in their trunk. And no one really has to touch or interact in close contact with one another, but they're still getting those resources that they need. We've also been impacted because we've seen a decrease in some of our food rescue at local grocery stores and manufacturers, and really have had to purchase some more food to really be able to meet that 50% increase and make sure that folks in the community have access to nutritious food.
I'm glad you guys are doing that, because it's so important to eat healthy too during these times. And I think a lot of communities around the nation are doing similar things that you're doing. I'm so glad that you're stepping up to do this. And, we talked about the face of hunger changing, and it's different now. I mean, it doesn't discriminate.
Right. And, to be honest, hunger has always been prevalent in our community, but COVID has definitely exacerbated the problem. So many people, are seeking our services and are seeking access to additional food. We saw a lot more folks visiting our website, and we have a find food map on our website that allows folks to go type in their zip code, and they can find their local food distribution or pantry, and they're able to visit that hopefully that same day or very close to it. We hear stories every day of people having to make tough choices, either, choosing between paying for rent or paying for food, and paying for medical bills or paying for food. Maybe someone has their car break down and they can't afford to fix it, or they're out of the job. So, it just takes one little thing to kind of put someone over the edge. And so if we can provide that food piece and sort of alleviate that one worry that they may have, that can really help people make ends meet, especially in these hard times. And we do know that, with continuation of schools being closed and businesses being closed, that we have a long road ahead, and we're really here and prepared to continue to meet that demand.
For sure. And I mean, obviously we want to help, everybody wants to help. So you've kind of touched on this. You told us about your website. How can people help, and where does their money go?
Sure. So right now, monetary donations are critical, as we can really maximize every dollar to turn it into nutritious meals for folks in the community and for people in need. That's because we work with wholesalers and manufacturers. So buying in bulk allows us to stretch your dollar further, right? And to really continue to help those in need. And so every dollar donated helps. $1, $5, $10, every dollar helps. And really, we're using that to sustain, as I was mentioning, our emergency distributions throughout the county to be able to provide that nutrition-dense food to the community, to families, to veterans, to seniors, really anyone in need, and to our rural communities as well. In San Diego, you may not think we have rural communities, but we do out in our
it's so true. I mean, there's places like this around the country as well. Thank you so much for joining us today and for that information. We appreciate all you're doing.
Yeah, thank you for having me and for championing this great cause.
Absolutely.
Of course. All right, well, stick with us because we have more to talk about with the holidays coming up. And remember, if you're looking for gifts, you can always give the gift of science.
Ooh.
Welcome back to Main Street Living. Now, Q, with the holidays coming up, something I love to do is to make the gifts that I give, but sometimes it's hard to come up with ideas.
Yeah, I'm typically a frugal person, so I like to make gifts too. Like I'll make cards and all that type of stuff.
Frugal, cheap. I gotcha. Yeah.
But if
We
you're
know what
looking
you
for
meant.
something to do with your kids during the Thanksgiving break, what if you help them make a holiday gift yourself? See, Sari Custer from Arizona Science Center reminds us of that you can always give the gift of science. Check it out.
Hey guys, as you can tell, I'm not at the Science Center. I am at home in the kitchen doing a little bit of science because the holidays are coming and there's no better time to give the gift of science. So I've got a couple of activities that will help us do not just a little bit of science, but let you have a really awesome gift at the end too. Starting with borax crystal ornaments. Now, I love these. They're so beautiful and so simple, and all you need are some things that you likely already have around the house or are really easy to get. Starting with borax. Borax is a laundry additive, so if you don't have any, you can find it in the laundry aisle. You're also going to need a little bit of water and a large container like a glass bowl or measuring cup. Even a jar would work. It just has to be big enough to get your item in and out. You're going to need a stick of some kind. A pencil will work. I've got a bamboo skewer here. And then some pipe cleaners. String might even work too, but pipe cleaners work really, really well. The last thing you're going to need is some creativity because you're going to make your ornament. So I tend to like making snowflakes. They're super easy, just a couple of cuts and twists, and you end up with this great 6-pointed star. And you just want to make sure that whatever item you have fits inside your container. So I want to make sure that mine fits inside this measuring cup here. So you are going to make your mixture by taking 2 cups of water, heating it up to boiling in the microwave, and then adding about a 1/4 cup of this powdered borax. You're going to mix it up really, really well until there is no borax left. You're going to dissolve it all. If there's a couple of little grains in the bottom, that's okay, but you want it to look clear. And then once you've got that solution made, you are going to take your stick, hang your little ornament from it, and suspend it right inside the solution. Now, after you do that, you're going to leave it set overnight for about 8 to 12 hours. And as it cools, the molecules of borax are going to come out of solution and attach themselves to whatever they can, including your pipe cleaner. So all those little fuzzy parts of your pipe cleaner are actually getting these great crystals forming all over it. So how cool is that? They're so pretty and so beautiful. And again, you can do whatever shape you want. All right, so for our second gift of science, we're going to be using some marbling techniques that has to do with polymers and surface tension. All you're going to need for this one is some nail polish and some blank mugs, along with a dish of water that's deep enough to dip your mug in, because we're going to make these great marbled mugs. How beautiful is that? And this one, again, super easy. Most likely you have access to some nail polish, and the mugs, I got these at my local dollar store. So really easy to get and really affordable as well. So first thing first, we're going to take our nail polish and we are going to dribble it into the water because it's going to float. Since it's a polymer, it's not going to mix with the water. It's going to sit on top of the water and spread out into a thin film. Now, since we're going to drop a couple different colors, I've got teal, gold, and silver here. We can then mix the colors as well to get some really cool effects. Then once you've got a pattern that you like, if it looks really cool, then you're going to take your blank cup and you're going to dip it into the water. And since it's sitting on the surface, it's still going to adhere to the surface of the mug. So when we pull it out, we get this really beautiful marbled pattern. All right, guys, I hope you had some fun making some of these great science-inspired gifts. If you're in the Phoenix area, come on down and join us at Arizona Science Center to experience science safely. And if not, or if you just want more great activities like these, check out all of our online programming at azscience.org.
Wow, Danielle, like I love that idea of the mug. I did not know that that's how you can do it. I'm going to look brilliant when I help my daughter out with that.
Yeah, you are. I mean, I didn't know it was that easy. I feel like I've seen those mugs before, but I was like, oh, that's going to be a mess. And it was beautiful. It was so easy.
Yeah, yes, it was. And we like to thank Sari. Just a reminder, you can get more ideas. Just visit their website, azscience.org, right?
It's the best ideas.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Now, up next, what is the Salvation Army doing this year to rescue Christmas? Well, if you're like me, you want to find out what that ting-a-ling-a-ling is all about. Welcome back to Main Street Living. Hey, Danielle, quick question. What comes to mind during this month of November? You know, like you think of giving back, red kettles, ring bell.
Oh, you know, I see what you did there. Yeah, the Salvation Army, the red kettles. Yeah, ringing the bells. For the first time, they've started that earlier this year. Obviously, with a bunch of states shutting down and the pandemic in place, a lot of nonprofits are suffering because they're used to depending on the generosity of the season. So luckily, the Salvation Army is stepping up to rescue Christmas. Here's a look at the Salvation Army in the Southwest region to see the work they're doing in Las Vegas and Arizona.
The Salvation Army got its roots back in 1865 of just reaching out to suffering humanity. Today it's grown into rehabilitation centers, housing facilities, emergency shelters, food program, family services, pay for utilities, assistance, just a gamut, youth programs. It covers quite a bit in our community. The importance of the Red Kettle is it does cover about 18% of our budget for the year. Like everything, COVID has affected almost every aspect of our lives, and the Red Kettle campaign is just one of those. This year, unlike any others, the COVID is affecting how many we will be able to go to. Not to mention we have store closures that will keep us from putting additional kettles out. We're expecting the possibility of a 50% decrease. Now that's concerning to us here at the Salvation Army because right now during the pandemic, we've seen quite an increase of requests for our services. Whether it's food, whether it's shelter, whether it's needing payment for utilities and rental assistance, all those things have come into play during this pandemic, increased numbers. In fact, the Salvation Army nationwide is expecting that this Christmas we'll have requests for 155%. For the first time in 130 years, the Salvation Army has started its annual holiday campaign early. This to help rescue Christmas. The funds raised through our traditional Red Kettle campaign are at risk this year due to COVID-19. You have people who carry less cash, whether it's folding bills or the coins, which we all know right now is hard to find. Plus, with the COVID, people are less foot traffic at these locations. It may be important for you to know that 82 cents out of every dollar you give goes to direct services at the Salvation Army. Well, there's several ways you can get involved. Obviously, when you see the red kettle out there and somebody's standing there ringing a bell, if you have extra cash, join the Rescue Christmas attitude and give something. But we also are at these sites allowing for Apple and Google Pay, where you don't even have to touch. You can just go to the sign and it comes up. You can donate online and you don't even have to go out to do that. Also on that site is volunteer. If you're interested in helping to volunteer to ring a bell or to adopt a kettle, and that means take the whole day and get your family and friends signed up. There are many, many opportunities that they can go to the web pages and to seek those out. Rescue Christmas is important to me and the Salvation Army because during this time, we believe there'll be more people who come to us and some for the first time. And so it is personal to me because I've sat in those rooms, I've cried with some of those people, and I've seen them years later or what has happened because Salvation Army filled the gap for them at one point in their life.
Wow, the Salvation Army, that is pretty awesome, and we appreciate the efforts. Please make sure that you donate to salvationarmyredkettle.org.
Yes, make sure you help them rescue Christmas. Certainly is going to be a different one this year, but stick with us because when we get back on Main Street Living, we're going to get our superhero on. We're heading to San Diego for some Comic-Con. Welcome back into Main Street Living. If you are just joining us, then you just missed in the last segment, we saw why Quincy would not make such a great superhero. But despite your haphazard flying, we have made it to the next segment. So that's the good news.
Well, that's part of my flight training. Okay, I haven't completed it yet, but over the years, then Comic-Con International, held in San Diego every summer, could have over 130,000 attendees, which is wild. But pop culture fandom can only be condensed to a few days a year, which is why Comic-Con decided to plant some roots and offer their fans a year-round experience. Let's see what they did.
The Comic-Con Museum will be a museum of popular culture that brings the magic of Comic-Con to audiences on a year-round basis. When we do our grand opening next year, fans can expect to see rotating exhibits. So we will not have a permanent collection. Pop culture is so dynamic. In order for us to sort of reflect the ever-changing content and the interests of fans, things will change on a staggered basis. You'll get a new Comic-Con museum experience each time. The convention itself, as I think most folks are aware, has been sold out every year for more than 10 years. There really just wasn't any more room to grow unless we moved outside of downtown and began looking at more year-round experiences. And so we know that we're sort of keenly aware of the demand for a Comic-Con experience based on the growth. So that coupled with us also wanting to expand our mission and the impact of the organization led us to begin looking for ways to do that. And we explored a couple ideas, but then the city of San Diego, Mayor Faulkner approached us about potentially taking over the federal building in Balboa Park. And it just seemed like the stars were aligned. And so why not a Comic-Con museum? And so we've been working on putting the vision together over the last couple of years in preparation for a planned grand opening in the summer of 2021. For all intents and purposes, we've been in a soft opening of the museum for the last maybe year and a half. We've been doing a lot of testing of exhibits and programs, both in person and online. Of course, over the last several months, the emphasis and the focus has been on the online museum experience. We're thinking really intentionally and strategically about how we convert in-person experiences into the online space so that wherever you are in the world, you could have a Comic-Con museum experience. In addition, though, there will be programming, both educational and public programming that connects to the exhibits, but also might be more more nuanced, thinking of summer camps that will have, maybe how to design a video game or how to create a comic book. I think those will be some of the things that you could expect to see on a regular basis at the museum. The upper level of the museum is the education center, and we'll have 5 classrooms that will be used for programming on a daily basis. We'll have a schedule of programming that people can access, and one of the locations that people will be able to participate in classes in is the Cox Innovation Lab, which we're very excited about. That will be outfitted with STEAM education equipment, so that we can sort of get the next generation of innovators ready through science, math, arts, and engineering topics. We are working on a virtual museum Character Hall of Fame induction to take place later this year. So last year we celebrated our first inductee into the museum's Character Hall of Fame, and that was Batman. So we will be having another induction, but just virtually, so people can be on the lookout for more information about that. On our website, you can go to the Comic-Con Museum at Home tab, and we have a scroll of different panels that you can tune into, or activities that you can partake in with your kids, or even if you're an adult. Like we teamed up with the Cardboard Superheroes, and they put together a series of workshops about how to build some of your favorite pop culture characters or artifacts out of cardboard that most of us have laying around because we've all been relying on deliveries lately. So a nice way to recycle and be creative in the process. So all of that information, in addition to some weekly activity books that we've been issuing, are all available on our Comic-Con Museum at Home tab on our website. Comic-Con itself is a place where everyone is welcome. You just have to bring your passions, and so that will be similar to what you'll be able to find at the museum. So if you're passionate about Lord of the Rings, well, come on in. If you're passionate about Buffy the Vampire Slayer, come on in. Pop culture is sort of far-reaching in terms of people that it touches upon. Whether you're 5 or 85, you can have a Comic-Con experience. Come on over to the Comic-Con Museum.
Wow. I've always wanted to go to Comic-Con, but it is always sold out. So it's nice that they're going to have an option like this. If you could have a superpower, though, what would it be, Quincy?
I don't know. I mean, maybe to disappear when I'm in trouble. Like every time, just hold myself and disappear. Like if I can do that, I think my flying would be a lot better.
Okay, that's a good one.
Well, the best part is that you know what? Let's get out of here. Let's go for a spin. How about that? After the break, when we come back, we're talking cars. We're on the move, Daniel.
Always. Welcome back to Main Street Living. This is a great holiday week. It's a great time to spend time with family. You guys are my Your View family, and we're lucky that on the show we get to talk to some other people from our Your View family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Last week we spoke with Driven correspondent Rick DeBrew on talking about, restoring his vehicle for veterans. But this week we have host and producer from the same show, Tom Gregory. How you doing there, Tom?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Doing great.
Doing well. Happy holidays. Is it too early to say that?
Nah, never too early.
Yeah, smiles are all in the air. And in fact, this season, tis the season, if you will, for season 2 of Driven. Great cars and great stories. Tom, how are you navigating the waters of shooting the show during the health pandemic?
It's a lot of it's outside. So if you're at a track, all the tracks, even museums or some of the car shows are taking all the precautions necessary. So yeah, we've had some road trips stop, but we've done other road trips because let's face it, if you're alone in your car, you're pretty safe. So we've taken some road trips.
See, that's so awesome. And I'm jealous because in season 2, you actually get to drive some of these cars. I want to come along with you. You know, we can mask up and try to distance. You can throw me in the back seat if you want. That's fine. But do you have any favorites? Any favorite cars?
Yeah, we've had a lot. We went to Ocean Drive down in Newport, Rhode Island, and we drove a 1924 Studebaker. It's open air, so, you know.
Perfect.
It's all, whatever's blowing in the air is blowing past us. Got to drive that car, and I know why Popeye had those big forearms. Because this car, no power steering. I just got behind it. I was like, what in the world? I don't know how these guys did it. They must have all had huge biceps. They were ripped.
Wow.
That was one of my favorite cars. Also got to drive a 1953. It's called a Chevy 5-window pickup, bright yellow. You think 53 farm truck. Now this dude had a Corvette engine on it, on a Camaro body, and it flew. That was a lot of fun. You know, we also got to drive the new C8, the brand new Corvette that is hard to find, and I got to take that out on a track, even though the weather was rainy and it was wet. It was sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's still handled well. And yeah, I'm going to come out there and we're going to do that. I'm going for a ride. Okay.
Oh, well, hopefully when you do that, if for season 3, we won't have to wear masks. Let's just hope it's all done by then. You know, we can even get in a Mini Cooper together, and that would be fine.
Fingers crossed. Yes.
Yeah. If you get in the Mini Cooper, they're so small. I'll just put my hand on the top and just rev it and push it.
It's a toy.
Tom, you were talking about getting a vehicle that had no power steering. That was my very first car, a Ford Escort 1985. So I know exactly what you're talking about, trying to turn with no power steering.
And you admit it. That's good.
I mean, like, why wouldn't I? But there's such a variety of stories that Driven covers. Is there anything that other drivers share in common, similar to the steering wheel?
The drivers that we have featured, they just love their cars, and they have car stories, and they actually, even if they don't love a certain car, they love the idea of a car. We did a story on a gentleman who has a 1957 Chevy that was his first car, and a car that he ended up redoing when he became a middle-aged man with some cash. And just the stories he would tell as we drove around, they were hilarious. And now he gets to have that car with the next generation, his grandson. And those are the kind of stories that we really like to do. It's not always about driving fast or driving a fancy car. It's just about driving. And those are the stories that are shared.
Yes. And, you've been nominated for 4 Emmys so far, which is a huge
for this
deal.
show.
Yes.
Not just me, the whole group, everybody working
look at
on
you,
it.
being so modest there. Is there anything else that you would really like to film?
Wow. One of the things that we didn't get to do this season because of the little pandemic was we didn't get to go to Oklahoma and want to start in Chicago and go all the way to California and drive Route 66. Ooh. That would be ideal. Wouldn't it be fun just to get in a car, me and a camera crew? Yeah, that'll be fun. Because they bathe. Just kidding. But they just drive the whole way down and stop at little places that have been there since it was historic Route 66. That would be a great idea. I'd like to do stories like we did, like Rick DeBrule did on that veteran's car, the restored Firebird. Man, it just made you tear up and kind of change your perspective. And that's the kind of stories that we'd like to do and continue to do, is car stories that can change your perspective.
That's what it's all about, Tom. And we'd like to thank you for joining us. You guys can catch Driven Sunday nights at 8 p.m. on YourView. So thank you very much, Tom, for being a part of it.
Thank you, guys.
Good to see you again.
Happy holidays.
We appreciate it. Have a great Thanksgiving, too. All right, we've got a lot more coming up on Main Street Living. Don't leave any favorites off your Thanksgiving menu. We'll tell you what they are next.
Welcome back to Main Street Living. Danielle, earlier I told both you and Cheryl my love for stuffing and turkey. Not in that order either, just it has to be a part of my Thanksgiving meal.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Thanksgiving is a foodie's favorite holiday, but it can also bring up a lot of controversy, right? I mean, to brine the turkey or not, sweet potatoes or yams. Is it appropriate to wear stretchy pants to the dinner table? Lots of things. But luckily, Your View's own Erica Cardenas is gonna take on one of these topics for us. She's gonna talk stuffing versus dressing.
With the holidays fast approaching, it's a tale as old as time. The good old stuffing versus dressing conversation. And despite having different names, there really isn't a whole lot of difference between the two, each being made with a stock, onions, and some sort of a bread base. So what is the difference then between stuffing and dressing? Well, in the most technical terms, stuffing is stuffed inside of a cavity of a turkey and cooked there, whereas dressing is cooked in a separate vessel, such as a casserole dish. And the name game usually splits along regional lines, so depending on what part of the country you live in, you might prefer the word dressing to stuffing. I myself was raised using the word stuffing and still use the word stuffing. So today I am going to show you how to whip up a quick, easy, healthy, and oil-free stuffing. Your ingredients consist of 1 to 2 cups of a stock. I myself am using a vegetable broth, 4 stalks of celery, 2 carrots, 1 onion, 3 cloves garlic, and about 10 cups of bread. You can either use a whole grain bread or a multi-grain bread, works well. And your dried herbs, half a teaspoon of rosemary and 1 teaspoon of parsley. Once you've chopped up your vegetables, you're gonna go ahead and saute them over medium-high heat for about 7 to 8 minutes. Then you're gonna cube up your bread and stick it in the oven to toast it for a little bit. You don't want it to become too rock solid, hard like a crouton, but you do want it to have a little toast, a little crunchiness to it. Now my bread is finished toasting and the veggies are almost finished sauteing. I went ahead and used a little bit of the vegetable stock instead of butter or oil. Then I'm gonna go ahead and add the minced garlic and the dried herbs and saute that up just a little bit more. And finally, it's time to bake. I went ahead and combined the bread and the sauteed veggies, added about 1.5 cups of vegetable stock to moisten it up. You can use more or less depending on your preference. Gonna stick this in the oven with foil on top for about 30 minutes. Stuffing is served. Whether you're a die-hard dressing fan or an avid supporter of stuffing, we can agree on one thing in the dressing versus stuffing debate. Both are delicious.
All right, that would not be my first instinct on how to use 10 pieces of bread, but I will probably be eating 10 pieces of bread on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, well, I know that you have an issue with stuffing turkeys and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
I have made a note. No,
let's
no
not.
tights. No tights.
Yeah, just don't stuff things in general. Stuffed animals, perhaps. But stick with us. We have a lot more to talk about right here on Main Street Living.
Welcome back to Main Street Living. Guys, I can't believe it's Thanksgiving week.
I know, Cheryl, I'm still dying to know how you do vegan Thanksgiving. We didn't get to hear at the top of the show.
Danielle doesn't let anything go.
I know it's not normal, but
I need options.
Yeah, it's something I love. So I'll normally do kind of like a vegan bowl with some tofu, some sweet potatoes, some chickpeas, some broccoli, just, some yummy vegan stuff. I think the sweet potatoes kind of make it Thanksgiving-like. That's kind of.
I was going to say, it's not very cheat meal though for you, Cheryl. That's pretty healthy. Does your husband eat that?
Healthy. Yeah, and I always do the cranberry sauce. I do love the cranberry sauce, so that's where my sugar comes in, and of course the wine. So mean, that's
Lime is a fruit. Yeah.
yeah.
Do you get your cranberry sauce from the can?
Well, I like to make it. I get the cranberries from the store.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And kind of make some yummy stuff and try to make it a little bit Thanksgiving-like. But
do you have pie, Cheryl?
So I can actually do a vegan, gluten-free apple pie.
Okay, that's something.
Guess where we're going. Guess where we're going. Just like this, well, just like the show, we are mobile, so we are on the move. You can catch us on the Cox Contour app. Just sign in and search for Your View.
That's right. Wrapping up
pie,
another
wonderful after dinner.
Yes, for sure. Guys, have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and to you, our viewers, as well. Join us next time. New episodes Mondays at 9 p.m. local time as we take our next walk down Main Street.